Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Opening night of the Toronto, I think it's the 43rd Toronto International Film Festival. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing one. My last one as CEO, although next year I'll be sitting with you guys, and I haven't done that since 1980, believe it or not. So I'm looking forward to that very much. So welcome to tonight's screening of Denis Arcand's La Chute de l'Empire Américain, The Fall of the American Empire. To begin, we would like to acknowledge that tonight's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We're grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community. Now, this film is eligible for the Canada Goose Award for Best Canadian Feature Film, as well as the Gross People's Choice Award. Please vote for that. Vote for your favorite films at tiff.net/vote. We'd like to thank Entertainment One, Sony Picture Classics, and Seville International for providing us with this film tonight. Now, tonight's director is the Oscar-winning filmmaker for Les Invasions Barbares, which was made in 2003. One of Canada's most famous and preeminent directors. His filmography is a mix of some of the most important films that have been made in this country. Réjean Padovani, Le Déclin de l'Empire Américain, The Decline of the American Empire, Jésus de Montréal, L'Âge des Ténèbres, as well as some of the most important documentaries as well. Denis is an important documentary filmmaker. Québec Duplessis et après, Le Confort et l'Indifférence, and On est au coton. I think his films have always been marked by their incredibly sharp intelligence, their cutting social satire, their dark humor, and their examination of contemporary social orders. And The Fall of the American Empire embodies all of these characteristics. It's finally a very sensitive and a scathing portrait of contemporary society, with lots of humor along the way. Now, Denis has stood on the stages of this film festival for many decades. His films have opened the festival. I've long admired him and his producer and partner, Denise Robert, for continuing to make films of such relevance and such quality. He and I have known each other for many, many years. In fact, my very first published film review in Cinema Canada was a review of Gina, his third feature film. And our relationship is one that I really value. It's so important to me to have Denis here tonight in my last festival. Please join me in welcoming Denis Arcand. Thank you.
Thank you. I am so old that I made many, many films before there was even a TIFF. But since there is a TIFF, I think every one of my films has been shown here, always to a very receptive audience, and it's always a great pleasure to be here. And Pierce is a great friend, and I'm sure we'll miss him as director of the festival, but such is life. You have, you deserve a happy retirement. Let me introduce you to my whole crew. Part of them are here, and why don't you come out, guys, and I'll introduce them to you once they're here. All right, come in. So they're all here, and I'll try to say nice things about them. My friend Rémi Girard, who starred in many of my films. A newcomer will go a long way, Patrick Abelard, young guy. Vincent Leclerc, who you will recognize, but a much fuller beard in my film, and don't miss him. Alexandre Landry, our young main co-star. Maxime Roy, a lovely policewoman if there was ever one. Our big discovery, Marie-Pierre Morin. Super good. Patrick Roy, the head of Seville Film and Iwan, Canada. And he's associate producer, I'm sorry. We have so many associate producers that you tend to... and Victor Louis, associate producer also. Dominique Besnéard, who flew in from Paris, who's also an associate producer. The guy who owns the film, Michael Barker from Sony Classics. And my partner and producer, Denise Robert. So I hope you enjoy the film, and we'll see you all afterwards. Enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Director Denis Arcand, producer Denise Robert, Alexandre Landry, Marie-Pierre Morin, Rémi Gérard, Vincent Leclerc, Maxime Roy, and Patrick Emmanuel Abelard. Thank you very much, everyone, for such an enthusiastic response. We're going to have our Q&A now. And before we open it up to the House, I would just like to ask you, Denis, you know, the film in its critique of capitalism, in its critique of the devaluation of culture, and of course in its title, brings us back to think about your earlier work about the decline of the American Empire and also the barbarian invasions. And I wonder if you can speak about what the relationship is for you between this film and those earlier works.
Almost none. No? No, the title of this film originally, when we worked on it, when we shot it, was Triumph of Money. So that was my working title. But at the end, I thought that it was too narrow because it's about something else. It's also about love between these two and about charity, about compassion, about homelessness, about, you know, tons of stuff. And I thought that the title was too narrow, and I was afraid of it. And then I thought that I had done this film called Decline of the American Empire. And of course, the title was inspired by the famous Gibbons book, The Decline and Fall of the American Empire. And reading the news, I said, well, the fall is it's sort of happening right now, so why don't I go back to that? But I mean, we shouldn't read too much. We shouldn't read too much in it, in the sense that it's just meaning in those times that we are living in, basically. So because I'm always thinking about people, like in 400 years from now, what will they say of us? And they will say, I think, oh, these people live in the time of the fall of the American Empire. So that's it.
But do you think that the aspects of the culture that you're critiquing now are different from 30 years ago?
No, the subject was different. 30 years ago, I was 40 years old and basically interested in sex. Yeah. So, and now, being much older, I'm interested in money. And since then, because of that, I married my producer. So there you have it.
On that note, I'm sure you must all have questions, so let's open it up to the House. And if you all could raise your hand, and I'll repeat the question so that everyone can hear. Yes, right down there. So the question just regarding how the story was developed and if there was any difficult decisions to make in the process.
Millions of very difficult decisions all the time. Inspiration is a very elusive process, and you're always afraid of losing it. You're always afraid, as a writer, as a scriptwriter, or as a filmmaker, that someday you're going to lose it entirely and nothing will come. I mean, you will sit at your table and you won't be able to write anything. And so what you do is I have a big file and I put notes in this file, and I have all sorts of notes, seemingly unrelated very often. So I had these notes about a horrible hold-up that happened in Montreal at high noon in a fake fashion boutique where these guys came in and shot 3 people, and it was so brazen, and it was at noon in front of everybody on the street and so on. So I was fascinated by that, and I talked to the police who investigated the situation and to reporters and so on. So that was part of the file. And then I was interested also in money laundering. I was reading all sorts of stuff about money leaving Canada to go to the Bahamas and then to all sort of other places, and I became...
For yourself?
I beg pardon? So that was another part of the file. And then I met this unbelievable escort in Ottawa. Why Ottawa? She was a black girl from Alabama, and she was coming to Ottawa twice a year because it seems that some of our ministers and members of parliament are absolutely crazy about black girls from Alabama, and she was making a fortune in Ottawa 2 months out of the year. And we got talking because we were sitting at a bar, and she was absolutely mesmerized by the fact that we were looking at a football game and we had only 3 downs. And to her, it was insane. You should have 4 downs. So I got to explain to her the mysteries of Canadian football compared to the NFL. And we got talking. We spent the whole afternoon together, and it was absolutely riveting. I mean, what she was doing and why she was doing it, and fabulous girl. So, I mean, all of this at the end, it makes for a huge file, and then you try and find a thread, something that was, you know, we put all these things in relationship with one another, and eventually, 4 years later, you come up with this.
Do we have another question? Oh, I'm trying to find you. Okay. Yes. So the question is just regarding the images of homeless people at the end of the film and also throughout the film, and when that entered the writing process, the creative process.
When you make a successful film, you have to be lucky. There's an element of luck in this. So one morning, we were up very, very early, like at 5 o'clock in the morning, because we wanted to shoot scenes of the sun coming up on Montreal before their scene where they spend the night walking around on the mountain. So we needed some establishing shots, and we were all together, the cameraman, the DOP, the assistants, and myself, in a minivan with our equipment, and we were going down a street, and then there were people sleeping in the entrance of a cafe. And I said, stop, stop, stop. And we stopped the van, we pulled the camera out, put the camera on the other side of the street, and we filmed these people sleeping there. And then they woke up, and then we realized they were Inuits They were from the north. And it was just amazing. So I went to them and I said, do you want to be actors in my film? We'll pay you scale, but just be there and I'll film you and I'll just make portraits of you. And I didn't know how I was going to use that. And we had that. I think my editor is somewhere here tonight and he could tell you that this is the truth. We weren't sure how to use that. It was there. We knew we had these shots. And we tried to put them here and there in the film, and it was never gelling. And then we had this idea that, okay, we should end the film like that, because this is the meaning of the film. And we did it, and then it worked. So you have to be lucky. So I would look a lot more intelligent if I told you that this was a plan and I had written this but it was not like that, because filmmaking is an haphazardous job, and sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not.
Yes, right down
there. The cast is not allowed to speak right now. They have microphones, but they don't work.
As you can see, it's always a little bit of a comedy show to work with him. Yeah. So it's great in that sense, and for my part, I feel so lucky. I feel that I had this chance of working with a guy who's so generous of his time, and he has a way of listening to different ideas and proposition of the people, and this is really rich in that business to I guess surround yourself and also trust into the fact that either the technical part or the actors or the editing, he also trusts into people, and that's nice.
He's a really good storyteller as well. It's funny. I asked my my co-worker if they've seen that before, a director that slows down a set because he's not done telling his story. But let me tell you, they're good stories.
Class is what I remember most from Denis and from Denise. There's an old school feeling about this, and it doesn't have anything to do with their age. It's just no, but it's no, but there's something about the everything is sped up now. I don't know how it is in the rest of Canada, but in terms of shooting, and they slow down, and there's a real sense of craft. We're there to shoot a story, and we'll do it right. It will take the time it takes, and so class and pleasure, the real pleasure of shooting. Even if you're a successful filmmaker, you'll shoot what, every 3 years, every 4 years, every 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So we really felt that honest pleasure and that craft, that sense of craft.
Denis and I, we made 6 films together, and we have a lot of success with these films all over the world. And every time he arrives with a script, I always say, "You have a gift for me now, eh, buddy? You have a gift for me." He said, "Oh, I think so." And when I read this script, I said, "Okay, man, we're going somewhere else." And it was pure happiness to work with my friend again. After the Barbarian invasion, there's a gap of 13 years between the 2 films. So it was really happiness. Thank you, Denis.
The thing is, the films I made without Rémi never work very well. So at some point he said to me, "You should hire me back, because I mean, you're going to bomb without me," which is true.
Oh, sometimes, you know, Denis is very clever on the text. We have to respect the text very, very. One day I was on Barbarian Invasion, and I had this kind of monologue, you know, the 4 pages of story. And one word was not, I missed one word, you know. So Denis said, it's perfect, but, you know, this word, you didn't say it. Oh, so you're really fussy, Denis, right? Come on. In the decline of American Empire, I can choose my word, and you said nothing. He said, yes. In the decline, you were not good. But now you're good. And now you will say my words. I worked many years on that words, and you will say them.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for, everyone. But please join me again in thanking Denis Arcand, producer Denise Robert, and the cast of The Fall of the American Empire.